as as we were introducing, you remember the statistics that I shared, that approximately 300 million women and girls menstruate every single day. So you can imagine. And now, especially with this time of the pandemic, it's estimated at approximately 500 million women and girls. So, and this limits, you see, for many women, and let's talk in the context of Isiolo County where we are at the moment, especially uko ndani kule mashinani, you find that most girls were accessing pads through the school program. About the women, I cannot really tell, I'm a safe on how they get it, because this program has really concentrated on school going children and girls, which is really good. But there is also that problem of women who are not in school. And when you go Ukondani, you see that from one shopping center to the other, there is a very long distance between one place to another. And the access to health centers, they are really scattered. And you find even a place where someone lives up to the distance that you have to go to the healthcare facility, it's quite a process. And I cannot really say for sure that these are some of the facilities that are offered at the healthcare for grown women or people who cannot be able to access these facilities especially. So I would really like us to talk about that case, let's say about that, and then about the facilities, on how we can be able to challenge the county government, the national government, the civil society, and also businesses, and also us as mwananchi wa kawaida, and especially for us women. How can we be able to at least eradicate, bring into this problem, into speed of bringing a solution of this problem of accessing facilities and materials that can help women and girls in this menstrual period that they go through?
So for me, first and foremost, like you mentioned, I've been privileged to visit Uko Mashinani. Where I work, my work involves going very interior places, and I'll give an example of a place like Merti. Uko Mashinani kabisa, I've gone there. And in my head, the time I went there, I was asking myself, how do these women handle that time of the month? Because I remember that day we found blood on the road, and we were told when we went to that village that someone had given birth 3 days prior. They were not able to reach the hospital. So if something as big as giving birth is this challenging, what about something like menstruating? So for me, it's a call to action. And it's a call to action, and I'll start with the government. I'll start with President Kenyatta. In 2018, President Kenyatta signed a bill to make it able for school-going girls to access pads in school. But that's not enough. Up to today, pads are still taxed. Actually, sanitary hygiene products are all taxed. What makes them think that having periods is something that is a luxury? It's not. These are some of the things that should be free. I mean, condoms are free. Why? And condoms, having sex is a choice, but menstruating is not a choice.
Yes.
And another thing for me that is a big deal is how most offices, I want someone to challenge me in this county and even in the country. How many offices where when you go to the washroom, you'll find a place to dispose your sanitary towel? How many, even in this county? So in my head, I usually ask myself, how do these people think we manage? Are we supposed to carry the parts that we've used for an entire? So I'm calling on the government and every person with a business or an entity. Make sure that wherever you are in your toilets, in wherever people go to relieve themselves, make sure that there's something for women to use, because hotels. I'm seeing hotels are trying, because I know a couple of hotels where there are sanitary bins where we can dispose of. But most offices, and those should be the number one. And we also need to empower our women to do something about solving the problems of access to these materials. And I'll tell you for a fact it's possible, because we didn't need masks before the pandemic, but now that the pandemic has come, we have found a way of getting masks at very subsidized rates. Why don't we devise such a solution? I know an organization in Marsabit that is producing period panties. They are reusable. You use, you wash, tomorrow you can use again, and we'll have solved the problems for pads. Why don't we inject money, and you don't even have to wait for...
Menstruation is natural. I agree, it's really natural. And because we are in menstrual hygiene day, and we have different, like, normal periods, like regular and irregular, there are different ways of hygiene to avoid soiling. I think for regulars can keep their calendars if you are able to, because you can even have smartphone and
mobile apps.
Calendar. So I know by Wednesday that my period is coming, so I'm avoiding for it to swell. So I'm like, I'm prepared mentally. I always carry one pad in my bag, and that's helpful. And also for people irregular, unfortunately, it can happen. The swelling can happen, and like you said, it's natural. We should not be ashamed. If it happens, it's okay. Go change, and it's okay.
Yes,
I believe. Yeah.
Wow, I think that is really informative, and a call to action for people not to be shaming women, especially when they realize they have soiled themselves, because this is not something that we can be... Yes, we can monitor it in one way or another, we can control it, but we do not have the absolute control. So please, especially to, you know, some of these things, unfortunately, the shaming and the stigma, most of it comes from our gender. I feel that because mostly, first of all, the people who educate us first, you know, that I feel like how we were educated about something like menstruation was like, you should never, you have to ensure, you have to do what, you know, and then there is that tone or the method of delivering something. The way I am going to take it, you know, I will take it in fear. So every time I am having my periods, I will always be afraid as do what, nini, where I have about so many things. So I feel like the mode of delivering this kind of awareness should be kind. And you should know that you have not done anything wrong. So please, and I would really love for young girls especially to own it, you know. Yes, to own that, because you cannot stop it in any way, even if you tried. Yes.
And also in my community, basically, we believe 70% of women believe that menstruation is dirty. And I would put it in copy because it's not dirty. It's a natural process. Every woman, at least the definition of a woman, because that's your egg that will give you babies later. And it's not dirty.
It's not dirty.
You should be happy.
You should be happy. Norema.
And I think also because of the same of what you've said about the taboo, the what is it called, the stigma around it, there are also ways to make the having period is also a challenging process. Most of us go through cramps. Most of us sometimes have headaches. Sometimes some of us have it
back pain.
Oh my god,
back pain.
Like somebody stabbing me. It's so bad. So it is a very challenging process, and the less shame, the less stigma, the easier it is for us to go through this period. I'm telling you, I know a couple of people who even have to go for shots because of the pain, for like injections to just like relieve the cramps. Some people cannot even go to work, cannot go to school because it's really painful. It's really painful. So by adding stigma and shame to it, it becomes even worse.
Wow, you know, I really wow, I really like that you have brought that the point of the pain across, because I don't know if I am right. I stand to be corrected. I read on a certain journal that doctors released a study or it was some findings saying that a heart attack is as painful as period cramps. So and anytime I suffer from period cramps personally, and they're usually it's not a fun experience. They're usually very painful, and this is especially to the gentlemen out there. When you hear a lady say that she's having period cramps, this is not her trying to take advantage just because she does not want to do a certain duty, or she's just lazing around. It's because it is usually very, very painful. And you find that, as you've said, people go for injections. Sometimes you have to take pills. Sometimes they have to take painkillers. And, it takes a while. And, for some people it varies. There are people who never have period cramps. There are people who have period cramps, let's say, at the beginning. There are people who have them the entire period. There are people who have them towards the end. So it's a thing that varies, and no one really chooses which package they want. It kind of come like that. Yeah, so also that it comes as part of stigma, which is very heavy, which I've also suffered from. So please, just when you find a lady who's complaining about cramps, just give her time, because we normally know how we handle it, because there are different types of handling that point of problem. Yeah.
Please buy her painkiller or chocolate or flowers. Comfort her.
Yes, we love food. It really comes in handy.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.